Chappell Roan's vocal growth has been insane. Even if you just heard about Chappell this year, she's been in the music scene as early as 2014. But over the last 10 years, Chappell's voice has changed so much. Hi, my name is Lauren. I'm a professional voice teacher, conductor, and singer, and huge fan of Chappell Roan, and today we're going to analyze the growth in her voice over the last couple of years. People's voices change all the time. We hear it with Mariah Carey, we hear it with Lady Gaga, we hear it with Beyonce. Often, the older that we become, the more we not only grow into ourselves, but we grow into our own voices. So let's start where it all began for Chappell. As most of you already know, Chappell Roan is from the Midwest, most specifically Missouri. She started music at a very young age, performing in school, even trying out for American talent competitions. And after releasing a couple of songs on YouTube, she was eventually picked up by Atlantic Records. And it was under this record deal that she released her first EP, School Nights. That was in 2017. After its release, Chappell was praised for having, quote, striking maturity and surprisingly deep vocals. I think at the time she was probably 18 or 19. So let's take a quick listen to some of her live performances and talk about her voice. So it seems a lot like she's got this lower range. She's almost an alto here, which is very different than what she sounds like now. She's much more of a soprano, has a higher range. She also has this like husky crooning timbre to her voice that's really unique. It's almost like she's singing really far back in her larynx and far down. That's where the resonance kind of sits, which really works for this style of music. The slower, the more emotional a song is, the more you kind of want to emphasize that sort of similar idea in your voice. And so I think that's a really great way to do it. It's just very different than what she sounds like now. Let's see if we can find another recording. Even try medication, go without the frustration. You can call it foundation. How could you when I'm wasted? Oh, I should know better. Oh, I should know better. Yeah, another quality to it is that it's still, it's not quite as belty as she sings now. It's not forward in the mask. Like I said earlier, it's really far back and down and very neutral and very just kind of airy in a sense. There might be support happening, I can't quite tell, but for the most part it feels very soft and easy and not quite as brash as her new music sounds like. So in the years following her first EP, Chappell was actually dropped from Atlantic Records just because she wasn't pulling enough of an audience, which is really amazing to say considering how crazy her audience is now. But so she was dropped from the label and she was forced to be an independent artist. However, this didn't stop her, obviously. She ended up releasing lots of singles and her debut album, The Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess. This album has a complete literal color and vocal shift. What once was somber and dark is now very bright, very pink, very loud. That is a theme that you see both in her album artwork and in her vocals. So let's take a listen. So, I couldn't really get into the chorus just because the sound quality is so bad, but in the introduction, her voice is it's similar to what it sounded like before, but there's a little bit more forwardness, a little bit more bite to the sound, and it also just not only appears to sound higher, but it just sounds more forward, a little bit more musical theater-y, a little bit more belty, and that's a very different timbre than what she used to do. But it still sounds, just as easy for her to achieve. I don't think it's a forced manipulation. If anything, it could be that this is just where her voice is now, or maybe she found that this is more enjoyable for her to sing. So let's find another recording that's not quite so bad in its quality. I told you so, I hate to say Yeah, so that's very different than what she used to sound like. It's very forward, very belty. Another thing that's really interesting about this song is that she doesn't actually sing it in the same key that she recorded it in. I imagine it's a very hard song to sing live if it were in the original key. I think in the original key she has to belt all the way up to an F, which is not impossible. I think Kelly Clarkson can belt up to an A flat, but it's not common and it's pretty difficult to achieve and to make it sound good. So I completely commend her for taking down the key, because that's a really scary and potentially dangerous thing to do for your voice, if you just aren't ready to do it yet. Over and over and over again every night, 7 days a week, that kind of thing is really intense for the voice. But it's really just kind of interesting, you still hear shimmers of that old voice every now and then, especially at the beginning of this bridge in Good Luck Babe. It's a little bit husky like it used to be. And then it becomes super forward and belty and flashy. And I think that's really interesting that she not only changes her persona throughout her career from being very somber and thoughtful in the beginning and then becoming very forward and colorful later on, but that's just as also what's happening to her voice. It starts out very somber, very husky, and then it gets transformed into this big, beautiful sound. Just kind of like her persona and personality, and the way that she carries herself in this character and persona that she's portraying. I love analyzing voice changes. I think it's really important to understand that as singers, our voices are always going to change, and it will never sound the same on any single given day, no matter how much training and preparation you do for it. And I think Chappell's growth in not only her stardom but her voice has been really amazing to watch over the last couple months, over the last year. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this analysis of a popular singer's voice. I had done one before, but the stans came after me because they didn't watch the video. So I am cautious to keep doing this just because stan culture can be pretty intense sometimes, but I'm always doing this from a very educated perspective, and from a perspective that's very interested and a big fan of all singers. So I hope to continue to do this, but in the meantime, next week we're going to talk about focus and resonance as a continuation of the lesson series that I've been doing. But yeah, see you next time.